Pope Linus. Pope Linus, Greek, Lambda Omicron Linus, pronounced Linus, who died around 80 AD, served as the Bishop of Rome from approximately 68 AD until his death. He is widely recognized as the second Bishop of Rome, succeeding St. Peter. Like all early popes, Linus was later canonized as a saint. According to the early church father Irenaeus, Linus is identified as the same individual referenced in the New Testament. Notably, Linus is mentioned in the closing greetings of the second epistle to Timothy, 2 Timothy 4 verse 21, where he is described as being with the Apostle Paul in Rome toward the end of Paul's life. The earliest reference to Linus's episcopate comes from Irenaeus, who around 180 AD wrote that the blessed apostles, having founded and built up the church, committed the office of the episcopate into the hands of Linus. According to the earliest episcopal succession lists of the bishops of Rome, preserved by Irenaeus and Hegesippus and recorded by the historian Eusebius, Linus was appointed to his office by the apostles Peter and Paul following the establishment of the Christian community in Rome. By this account, Linus could be regarded as the first pope. However, from the late 2nd or early 3rd century onwards, Peter came to be universally recognized as the first pope. Jerome described Linus as the first after Peter to preside over the Roman Church, while Eusebius referred to him as the first to receive the episcopate of the Church at Rome after the martyrdom of Paul and Peter. John Chrysostom noted that this Linus, some say, was the second bishop of the Church of Rome after Peter, and the Liberian Catalogue similarly identified Peter as the first bishop of Rome, with Linus as his immediate successor. The Liber Pontificalis also lists Linus as the second bishop of Rome following Peter, asserting that Peter consecrated 2 bishops, Linus and Anacletus, to serve the community's priestly functions while dedicating himself to prayer and preaching. It further states that Peter entrusted the universal church to Clement I, whom he appointed as his successor. Tertullian likewise refers to Clement as Peter's successor. Jerome names Clement as the 4th bishop of Rome after Peter, if indeed Linus was the second and Anacletus the third, though he acknowledges that many in the Latin tradition consider Clement to have been the second bishop after the apostle. The apostolic constitutions also record that Linus, consecrated by Paul the apostle, was the first bishop of Rome and was succeeded by Clement I, whom Peter ordained and consecrated. The chronology of the early popes remains a subject of significant scholarly debate. Eusebius and Jerome placed Linus' episcopate between approximately 68 and 80 AD, whereas the Liberian Catalogue and the Liber Pontificalis date it earlier, from 56 to 67 AD, during the reign of Nero. This earlier dating is likely erroneous, as all 4 sources attribute a 25-year episcopate in Rome to Peter, with the Liber Pontificalis specifically recording Peter's death as occurring 38 years after the crucifixion of Jesus, approximately 67 to 68 AD. The Catholic Encyclopedia suggests Linus' tenure as bishop spanned either c. 64 to 76 or c. 67 to 79. Linus is mentioned in the valediction of the second epistle to Timothy, where he is identified as being with Paul the Apostle in Rome near the end of Paul's life. Irenaeus affirmed that this Linus is the same individual who later became Bishop of Rome. According to the Liber Pontificalis, Linus was an Italian native of Volterra in Tuscany, son of a man named Herculanus. The Apostolic Constitutions name his mother as Claudia, a figure also mentioned immediately after Linus in 2 Timothy 4 verse 21, although the biblical text does not explicitly identify Claudia as his mother. The Liber Pontificalis attributes to Linus the decree that women should cover their heads during church services, the establishment of the first 15 bishops, and records that he died a martyr's death. His burial is dated to September 23rd, the day on which he is still commemorated, and his name is included in the Roman canon of the Mass. Regarding the purported decree on women's head coverings, J.P. Kirsch noted in the Catholic Encyclopedia that this claim is almost certainly apocryphal, likely derived by the author of the Liber Pontificalis from Paul's first epistle to the Corinthians, 11:5, and erroneously attributed to Linus. Furthermore, the assertion that Linus suffered martyrdom is unsubstantiated and improbable, Given the absence of documented persecutions of the Roman Church between the reigns of Nero and Domitian, Irenaeus, in his writings, identifies only Telesphorus among the early Roman bishops as a martyr. Unlike the Liber Pontificalis, the Roman Martyrology does not classify Linus as a martyr. Its current entry commemorates him as the bishop entrusted by the apostles with the church in Rome and acknowledges Paul's mention of him as a companion. In 1615, Torrigio discovered a tomb within St. Peter's Basilica inscribed with the letters Linvs, which was initially believed to be the burial site of Pope Linus. However, Torrigio's own notes clarify that these letters likely represent the final 5 characters of a longer, unidentified name, such as Aquilinus or Analinus, thus casting doubt on the tomb's direct association with Linus. Additionally, a letter concerning the martyrdom of Saints Peter and Paul was once attributed to Linus, but modern scholarship has conclusively dated this document to the 6th century, well beyond Linus's lifetime. According to the Liber Pontificalis, Linus was interred on Vatican Hill, in close proximity to St. Peter the Apostle, in the area now known as the Vatican Necropolis beneath St. Peter's Basilica. Beyond his historical and ecclesiastical significance, Pope Linus's legacy endures in various forms, including the naming of the city of St. Lin, Laurentide in Canada, in his honor. As one of the earliest leaders of the Christian Church, Linus represents a foundational figure whose contributions to the establishment of the Roman episcopate continue to be recognized and commemorated. His role as a bridge between the apostolic age and the institutional church underscores the enduring impact of his leadership during Christianity's formative years, embodying the continuity and resilience of the faith through centuries.